I'm Melanie Brucks. I'm an assistant professor of marketing at CBS, and I study creativity and innovation. And I'm particularly interested in how the shift to remote work has changed the process of innovation for companies. Comparing simply being in the same physical space as another person versus communicating on video. And what we found was when you're simply in the same physical space, people are more creative. They're coming up with more creative ideas. But when it comes to downstream things like identifying your best idea, there really isn't that much difference. And people sometimes think, oh, there's this psychological distance when someone's on Zoom, I'm not going to connect as much. We don't find that. There's actually not that much difference in terms of emotional connection or social connection. You can see the person's face, you can hear their voice, everything is happening in real time. The only difference is scope of shared environment, and you're not going to necessarily kill social connection or culture by having people communicate on video. I hope that as technology progresses and improves, we're thinking about when it makes sense to use this new technology and when it makes sense not to. It's not that more information is always better. I think that's a really important conclusion. One thing we hear a lot about is the metaverse. We might not need to have this whole shared environment and to see each other face to face to have that discussion. Even now, I think things don't need to be on Zoom. They could just be a phone call. They could just be an email. So it really depends on what you expect your employees to be doing, and then I would design a structure that would map onto that. So if I see that there's kind of like these big initial creativity tasks where we come up with new ideas, and then for the next year, it's mostly implementation, I could imagine having like an innovation conference or an innovation week where people come together and then they have a lot more flexibility and they're not required to come into work. However, there's some tasks that involve lots of problem solving, lots of creativity day to day. In that case, I'm kind of on the side of the companies that are starting to ask people to come back into the office to have this physical space, and that can really create an experience that's really hard to do when you're meeting over video. And so it doesn't make sense to just insist that people come into the office without making adjustments so that it makes sense for them to come into the office.